Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Outsole Brothers channel, and this is my performance review of the Jordan Luka 1. So this shoe is rumored to be around 110, 120 bucks, which is definitely on the cheaper side of things, and this is of course Luka Doncic's first signature shoe with Jordan brand. It's not available yet, hopefully it's coming out soon. I did hear that it is out in like Australia and in Asia, so it should be coming to the US soon, but if you guys don't want to wait, you guys can always get it on eBay. So I'll try to leave a link in the description box, but let's get it started off with the Tracciones. And in this colorway, we have a fully translucent outsole, right? And we have just pretty much some lines, right? And the traction, how does it perform? So on a clean court, holy crap guys, the bite is absolutely amazing. You're gonna be stopping on the dime. It has top tier traction, and I did need to break it in for like a day or two, but once I did, it was amazing, right? And if you're playing on a dusty setting, it's actually pretty good, right? So it does pick up dust and picks it up pretty quickly, but it's a very easy wipe, right? So you just go easy 1 or 1, 2, and you're good to go. But it does pick up dust pretty quickly, so you do have to keep up with your wipes, but it was never too dangerous, right? Which is a good thing. So if you let too much dust pick up here on the Luka ones, you're not gonna be sliding out and it's not gonna be dangerous. But the bad thing, of course, is that you're gonna need to wipe a good amount if you're playing on a dusty court. So do be careful about that if you don't like to wipe, but if you don't mind wiping and you keep up with your wipes, then you should be fine playing on a pretty dirty court. Also for durability, I don't think it's gonna be amazing, right? The grooves are kind of thin and it's moved by my fingers fairly easily. Like it's not super soft, but also it's not super hard, right? So I feel like as far as durability goes on the outdoor court, it would be okay, but not the best option. So I had a really good time playing in the Luka ones because of the traction. Amazing traction, amazing bite, and I usually don't really mind wiping, and it's a super easy wipe too, so yeah, I had a really good time with the traction. Now moving on to the heel to toe transition. So here in the heel we have a very nice rounded shape and pretty much fully exposed midsole, so it's not like super stiff or anything or clunky. And then here in the forefoot we have a very nice curve shape and a lot of forefoot flex, right? So super smooth when you're doing heel dominant strides down the court, but also as you guys can see, we have this plate here, right? It's basically a midfoot shank plate that kind of comes around the cage, the midsole here on the lateral side of the shoe, here in the forefoot and in the midfoot. So this plate gives a little bit of rigidity here in the forefoot, so it kind of like propels you forward and it gives good torsional support. So yeah, overall heel to toe transition is very good. Moving on to the cushioning setup. So we have the first introduction of Formula 23 in a Jordan basketball shoe, and it's kind of like Jordan's brand new proprietary foam, right? And honestly, it's not that nice. So basically the good things about the cushioning setup is that it's low to the ground and responsive, and that's pretty much it. You know, I mean, it is kind of soft here in the heel. It is injected into the midsole, so as you guys can see, this green part, that's just Formula 23. Like if you can see here in the middle of the outsole, that's Formula 23, which is exposed, right? But the actual white part, this midsole is like an encasing, so it's actually not that soft. There's not a whole lot of compression here in the heel, maybe just a tiny bit. I'd say it's more like a softer phylon, which I guess if you're looking for something a little bit more stiff and responsive, that's a good thing. But if you want something a little bit softer, then this definitely isn't the best option. Also the insole is just a regular Ortholite insole, so nothing special there. And if you look underneath the insole, it's a pretty stiff strobo board and it never really broken that nicely. So step in comfort, you don't really feel the Formula 23 foam underneath your foot all too much. It's not like crazy soft or crazy bouncy. For example, like in Harden Volume 6, which has a softer like strobo board, it has holes in the strobo board actually, and then the Wild 10 with the mesh strobo board, which is super comfortable as well. I wish they would have done that here in the Luka ones, but they didn't. So it's not super nice. If you're doing hard impacts, so for impact protection, it's not the best. I mean, I didn't have any huge issues with it. Like if I was doing hard impacts, my feet didn't hurt that much, but it did hurt a little bit, so do watch out for that. So yeah, I mean, it's like nothing special, but it's also like not a terrible cushioning setup. Like I said, if you're a guard and you want a low to the ground cushioning setup that's kind of soft with adequate impact protection and low to the ground, then this is a great cushioning setup. But if you were expecting something crazy like the Wild 10 cushioning setup, or even like the Harden Volume 6, you're not going to find it here in the Luka ones. All right, moving on to the materials. So we have pretty much a textile material, and then on top of that we have what they're calling flight wire, right? So it's basically just these cables that are going over this textile material here in the toe box and also here on the lateral side of the shoe. Here on the medial side we don't have the flight wire cables. So overall it's a really nice material, right? So here in the toe box it's extremely thin, as you guys can see. It also feels very supportive. There's not a whole lot of stretch to it. It conforms to your foot very well too, so it feels really nice here in the toe box and also here in the midfoot. And for the tongue we have a nice bit of padding which feels nice and cozy on top of your foot. And then here in the ankle area there's not a whole lot of padding actually. You know, I would say like it's pretty minimal, but it does feel kind of cozy here in the back of the shoe as well. So yeah, overall it feels like supportive, minimal, and comfortable on foot. One thing that's kind of weird is the ankle area though. It's like a double like layered material. It kind of reminds me of like the Why Not 0.2 and also the Why Not 0.3. The quality, I would say it's not the best, especially with the fuse, right? The fuse does look and feel a little cheap, but I mean, it's a cheaper shoe, so you can't really complain. But on foot, it feels great. Moving on to the fit. So the fit definitely was not the best. I guess like Luka's foot and my foot are pretty different, right? So shoes that fit me well are like the KDs, the Currys, the Kyries, right? They're very narrow and snug fits. So I'm guessing Luka has more of like a wider foot, and also maybe he likes a roomier toe box or something, but it definitely was a pretty roomy here in the toe box. As you guys can see, it like scrunches up a good amount. Yeah, it's very, very roomy here, and I can pretty much fully curl my toes up, right? So in my personal opinion, like what I want in my basketball shoes, I want a really snug fit here in the toe box. Lengthwise, I was good going true to size. My toes go pretty much right to the edge of the shoe, and also widthwise, it's like pretty normal width to maybe even slightly wide, right? I felt a little bit of like space widthwise as well. So because of those reasons, I just didn't like the fit. It wasn't the best for me. Of course, that's subjective. If you have a wider foot or you want to have like a roomier fit in your ball shoes, then the Luka one is a great option. But I just didn't like the fit in the Luka ones all too much. And like I would tighten the laces very, very tight here in the Luka ones, right? And that would, you know, solve the problem a little bit, but of course while you're playing, laces always loosen up, and also it wasn't the best, most secure fit here in like the toe box. So yeah, it was pretty unfortunate for me, but nothing really I could do. I mean, I did play in these shoes like while double socking sometimes, but I just don't like the double sock all too much, you know what I mean? So anyways, there's a fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown. So for lateral containment, I had pretty much zero issues. It was a overall very supportive shoe. Like this material is very supportive, right? We have the flight wire cables, even though we don't really have a whole lot as far as like a sidewall here in the forefoot. It felt overall very supportive here in the forefoot, and here in the heel we have the foam coming up and also an internal heel counter. So lateral containment, I felt good, and also for lateral stability, it was very good, right? As you guys can see, this part of the midsole and outsole do protrude out, and it's a very wide base too. So lateral stability was very good as well. So for support and lockdown, I was good. I didn't really have any issues with heel slippage either. All right, moving on to the weight of the shoe. If I remember correctly, it was pretty light, right? 12 ounces? Yeah, so 11.99 ounces. Let's check the other pair. 12.24 ounces. So 12.1 ounces on average, right? And that's a little bit lighter than average. The average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So yeah, this shoe feels minimal. Like the overall material and upper does feel minimal, and also here in the back of the heel, the tongue does feel kind of cozy though, which I like. And also it's a very responsive shoe because of the traction. The traction is really, really good, and the cushion also is responsive. But because of the sloppier fit here in the forefoot for me personally, my foot would slide around inside of the shoe, so it wasn't super responsive because of that. But of course, I mean, that's more of like a subjective thing, right? If you have like a wider foot and it fits you well, then obviously you won't have that problem. So overall, this is a very responsive shoe, and you feel very quick when you're playing in it. It's just for me, I didn't feel as quick as in like the Curry 9s because those fit me a little bit better, right? All right, moving on to the ventilation. So as far as airflow goes, there's not a whole lot of airflow through this material. And I mean, it is pretty thin though, so it doesn't keep in heat that well, but not a whole lot of airflow. So it was on the warmer side of things as far as the ventilation goes. Moving on to the aesthetics, it definitely did grow on me. There are some really cool colorways coming out as well. And yeah, I mean, like just on foot, it looks great. And also in hand, it looks a lot better than pictures to me. So yeah, tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, the Luka 1 is a solid shoe. It's just one downfall for me personally, and that was the fit. And that definitely does suck, and that's something that I can't really fix. I mean, I can put in another insole or double sock like I said, but I just don't really like to do that, because if I put in another insole or double sock, I don't have as good court feel, and it just feels a little bit bulkier to me as far as the overall shoe goes, right? But everything about this shoe was really good, right? So I mean, I do wish the cushion was a little bit better. I mean, they talked up Formula 23 foam a lot. They're like, it's soft, it's springy and all that, and it's like, it's kind of disappointing. It reminds me of like the Superfly. I don't remember what year it was, but remember when the Superflies came out with the brand new React foam in a basketball shoe? Like React foam came out in a running shoe, and I tried it, and it was super nice. And the very first basketball shoe that had React was the Jordan Superfly, if I remember correctly. And I was super excited about it, and then they pretty much did the same thing. It was basically like an injected React foam, and it was very disappointing, honestly. So hopefully the Jordan 37 is nicer, right, and softer than this, but it is crazy cage, so I do have my doubts about that. But overall, I mean, the traction is good, the materials feel minimal, it's a lightweight shoe, support is great. So I mean, if you have a wider foot and you want a really responsive shoe, then this is a great option. I still really enjoyed playing in it, and this shoe will like loosely be in my rotation. If this shoe fit me well, like for example in like the Curry 9, if it fit me like the Curry 9s or like the Jordan 36, then I would like this shoe a lot more, right? But anyways, that about wraps up my performance review of the Jordan Luka 1. Again, if you guys want to cop it, try to leave a link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.